Hi, Kendra. The topic of global expats and the $10 billion came up the other day. Once again, ha 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 ha. Yeah, that's you're just as crazy as mom. Comment, and that just confirms and exposes and shows once again. I've been hearing this from you all for forever, as well as the little girls that I worked with at the Institute for Capacity Development, which, believe me, have been playing the same game as they played with me in the courts, the misogyny there. Stupid deposed trophy wife who can't do anything, who opted out of the game and therefore, not even fit to lick our boot. And we'll throw her a bone with some, minimum wage jobs. Believe me, Kendra, I've been playing that game since I've been back to Washington with all of the HR people and all of the people that I've been working with and all of the places that I've been working. But this is exactly the cacophony that all of you alpha dominance feminists and great business women, I always say, I have a sister, a great businesswoman sister, just like Trump. I'll just take a couple of zeros off of her net debt. I mean, it's the same thing with Trump. He doesn't want to show his tax returns, that you never wanted to show any of your financials over the years, because, the trust fund for Mrs. Zukowski, I think, was one of the worst. I couldn't believe that one, but anyway. This whole thing, I mean, this is why capitalism is not working, because this I demonstrated with I did 3 years or so to get the prototype. It's still out there, globalexpats.com. It's got 130 cities. It took me, I think, 6 months to compile that list and upload it. I mean, you got you always saying you send stuff to your web manager to upload or something. I mean, Kenny, I manage 2 websites full of content, and I produced all of it, uploaded all of it. Believe me, my administrative skills. This is why the Adrian Thapa and all the secretaries and ICD didn't want me into their little pool, because they were threatened by me. They didn't realize, just like you, they don't know how to read and they don't understand anything because they're so narcissistic. Really, you all, Duran and Jonathan, should read the book that we got from Mom and Dad. Duran and I, when we were in Florida, written by Daniel Amen, about the atrophy of the brain when you don't use it. This is what the dementia was all about, and of course why Mom didn't want Dad doing any activities, because it does, help and get him out of with the crazy lady. God, this whole thing about, they're always together, they're such a united couple. I'm like, well, that's not necessarily a healthy thing. I've seen it too many times. I mean, in Spain, it's pretty bad. I do know how to run a restaurant. I mean, you said that running a restaurant was, too much work. Owning a restaurant. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm going to end up with a couple of restaurants here. And one of the things that I'm going after the restaurants about is, how they are just cashing in to all of this. Partying and hedonism and the rise of the Fourth Reich, because that's what everybody's supporting. It's just like Berlin. You ever seen the movie Cabaret? Well, it's in a dance hall, a restaurant, whatever, and for a reason, because actually those people took over when the monarchs were deposed by the revolutions. That's what took in the social order of bringing the social, the gatherings together. And unfortunately, it's just cash in, and nobody even cares about the damage that they're doing to the labor rates in this country, or the policies that are, being propagated of alpha dominance, feminism, managerialism, and affirmative action. Those are the three major problems that need to be attacked. So, look at my business plan on Global Expats. I mean, it's just like Trump. Would you people stop saying stuff? And everybody in Washington, all of the alpha dominant feminists who just love to spit on me. Look at the evidence. This is one of the damages that alpha dominance feminism and alpha dominance minorityism, trying to put all the minorities in power and have quotas and, grapple up the ladder of success and produce more and more and more stupid, superfluous jobs that are just creating more and more chaos. And that's why you don't want, why the homemakers are being disempowered by your misogynistic rhetoric in the courts, in the workplace, in housing. I mean, I should be able, as I keep on saying, Jonathan has a whole slew of lawyer friends. I mean, the lawyer that he sent me to in Florida when I got back, and I was trying to get Global Expats, trying to get the prototype and go after the web designers who were in Florida, Tampa, Florida, who had cyberjacked it with Xavier, because a business developer from Microsoft was interested in the project, and that's when Xavier really flipped out. Because it was when I showed him that this thing could make $1 billion a year in advertising costs. I mean, the look on his face, I was like, whoa, this guy is totally lost it. This is not the man I married. And yeah, I mean, my God, Kendra, if anybody should know, you're the one who is really the only one who has ever incited me to violence in this world when we were kids. Well, and sometimes I want to slap you when we were adults, but I refrained because I learned from Mom that she wasn't going to ever come, step in. It just let you go ahead. More fuel to the fire, the more chaos she can produce in the house, and the more bullying, the better for her, because that's her status quo that she wants there. Because then, since she can't control anything, she's created this chaos, and everybody's running around in chaos and trying to survive, so she can be in control. And yeah, I learned, I even tell these guys out in the streets, I say, look, I learned as a kid, they go after you, until you explode and attack them, but then you get in trouble because you've gotten, you've hit somebody or pulled their hair. I mean, God, you gotta know that I got in a cat fight with somebody and a physical fight with somebody, I'm not a timid little idiot. However, I'm not stupid. If I'm up against a man who is twice my weight and totally not there, I mean, really, if I would survive, I would say, well, temporary insanity. And that's what was scaring me. I was seeing it more and more and more and more and more and more. And everybody who is been colluding to cover this up and shut me up from top to bottom. And I mean, by now it's all over the frickin' place. Is not helping the situation as they might, justify in their twisted little minds. It has done enormous damage to me. It's done enormous damage to my children. And, I'm not going to speculate where Xavier is mentally right now. Because we saw what happens in this with Mom, and I see, my Lord with the Zoom in the memorial service. It's really kind of eye-opening. I mean, I don't have these cameras, and I'm not, never with all of that like you guys. So that's kind of the first time, but I was like, whoa. The paradigm that you all are so, eager to promote just got to stop. But the lawyer that Jonathan sent me to in Tampa said, oh, well, you have to prove that these platforms can make, this much money. You have to get one up and show, and then we can go after the guys. Well, Kendra, by this time it was 2009, maybe 2010, because of course, like is the objective. I mean, I knew that with the lawyers in Spain, defraud her of everything, make sure she can't get a job in labor markets, because nobody will take opting back in women. And of course, she's going to have to struggle to survive. See, the UN report, in-depth study on all forms of violence, even shows that it is the women in society who are propagating the customs and norms that are maintaining the violence of the men. Okay, perfect case study. But by that time, Facebook was already, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but they were on the way. I mean, I didn't think you build it and you're going to have it the next day. I had done, an analysis of how many different, because you get different advertising stuff per page, and you've got all sorts of different pages. You can go in and Yelp, Yelp.com. You can see you got advertising space all over the frickin' place. And when I looked at the analysis of that and calculated it in an Excel spreadsheet, I mean, even back in 2006, 2007, when I was looking at this, when I first started looking at this, I got on the internet and looked at every single expat website that was out there, reports. I mean, I had been an expat, and I had been the president of Bogotá, on Expat Wives boards forever. So I knew it was a good idea, because I knew we needed a new association that would get rid of all of these, social climbing little bitches and backstabbing bitches that are in these organizations. But I still did my homework, which anybody who's starting a business should be doing, but they're not. That's why you keep it a closed, restricted group of people so that, nobody has to do any work. I mean, Dad even said to me in 2007, I said, Dad, I always admired you so much for, and he said it was hard work. There's no, even the smartest person in the world can't, cut corners, and you have to work. And another thing he told me, he said, one of the problems is not just all of the mistakes everybody's making now, but it's that they're building on mistakes made in the past. One of those mistakes in my arenas is that our problems of today is not macroeconomic nor microeconomic issues, it's managerialism. That's Burnham, 1941. He was an American philosopher. Believe me, for the past 12 years, while you guys are, off partying and making money and, jet setting, I've been here studying, looking at all of this stuff. I don't believe in maggot chickens. I know how to put it together. This whole thing, you're just like, Mom, no, I know how to put things together. And that's, of course, why, Mom, it was always, it wouldn't help me. I mean, the lawyer in Tampa, I was like, because he said, oh, you have to prove it first. I said, buddy, it's already been proved. The business models, that's what I mean, Susan Feeney told me, she was big, oh, I'm a big wig international marketing person at Bank of America. Of course, she, they laid her off, they let her go, as well as her husband, both of them. I mean, he's a lawyer and he doesn't understand anything about law any more than she understands something about marketing. Is, Duran Oakure is this big marketing major. Excuse me, Kendra, one of the things that I prove in all of my work in my own business is one of the things that my marketing major 101 at GW said the first day of class. He said marketing is about identifying your market and fulfilling their needs, not producing a bunch of crap and then hoping a crapshoot with 70 to 90% of the businesses failing in the first 5 to 10 years and hoping it'll stick. And that's okay, because we got a flood of money. Oh, we're running dry in the United States. Well, we got globalization, so we'll just, get that flood of money from elsewhere. Well, guess what? The Russians got on board on that, the Chinese, the Indians, the South Africans, the Brazilians, all vying for, global dominance, and it's going to end in another world war. And it's this, me. Consume of this country that started the golden age in 1980. That is the motor behind that. And this family is a perfect example of not only, why it will eventually be self-destructive to everybody in it, as well as the United States. I mean, this is why Trump is in power in Washington. This is exactly one of my points at the beginning of the letter to Prince Charles, that of course you all have never read. I mean, it's God, when I do finally get a voice, it's going to be like, what, you produced all of this? But nobody in your family was even interested in anything, and they just, called you stupid. I mean, believe me, everybody does it in Washington. It's for the same reasons, same games, same manipulations. In fact, if I got out of Spain alive, it was because I have been in this Machiavellian environment my entire life, and I see the games with total clarity. I mean, go into the psychological testing that's there with my documents about my divorce, and it even says I'm above average intelligent. Xavier is average. And believe me, when we got those results from that psychological testing, that backfired in their little plan. He took them and they disappeared, because this is the reason he never wanted me working outside the home. He knew I would always do better. Same thing, you're no different. So, yes, I mean, all you say is, ha 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 ha. Well, of course, Kendra, if I can't find lawyers, my lawyers in Spain screw me over and defraud me. Think of the logic here a little bit. I mean, this is the thing, you guys. You're so attached to your phones and exchanging recipes. I mean, this is another thing. I'm like, well, look, you let all the women into the workplace. All they know how to do is exchange recipes and talk about, their jet setting and their social climbing. It's no different from the country clubs. And one of the things that I parallels, that I show with all of these PhDs and MBAs in Washington, who jet set to the conferences to have their affairs. Because believe me, I was told about that when I started at the IMF Family Association from the wives. That's what those things are for. Because they're all in bed with the alpha dominant feminist, the managerialist, and this affirmative action. Let's put all of the minorities into positions of power, so it's creating more and more chaos as everybody's fighting for the jobs. And I mean, that you said to come up to Chicago, because what I needed to concentrate on was getting a roof over my head and some safety and security. And of course, this is one of my points all the time with all of these other domestic violence activists. And one of the reasons they don't like me, and I'm not in their little club, because I didn't get into the little club. See, this is the same with, you said, with Foxcroft. I didn't excel at Foxcroft, yes, because Foxcroft was about, this little club and clique and all of these secret clubs and everything. Dawn said that you and she had gone to middle class schools in England, but I mean they had girls from all classes, but one was Lady Henrietta Bathurst, whose brother is a good friend of Prince Charles, which, if I had global expats up, Kendra, then people would be looking at everything that I'm doing. But see, since my husband tries to destroy it, my family doesn't give me any support when I get back to the United States. I mean, Jonathan, come on, a banker in Spain is going to look really bad. I should have been able to get the money like that. If I hadn't had an abusive husband, I would have. And we'd be sitting pretty, and we'd be, multi-billionaires, and I would have liberated Dad. First thing that I would have done. And I'm sure that's also part of why nobody wanted to help me. So, you show me, as again, I keep on saying to everybody who's playing this game, see, this is the thing. I mean, all of this university, higher education, and we got to get everybody in higher education and in the IMF, the university, and we just need to get more training and more and more training. I mean, my bachelor's really served me. I know more about law from one commercial law course, undergrad, business. You know, you say you went to business school. Well, then you should understand everything that I'm talking about. Commercial law 101. One of the things he explained to me, he said, if you ever get in a fight, get everything in writing and don't do anything illegal, because it'll bite you in the ass when you get to the end of the line. Now, you all know I always go straight and narrow. That's one of the things I've always been criticized. I'm too good to do for this world, just like Dad. Oh, I've heard that I don't know how many times. And Xavier used to say that to me all the time. And he always say, don't you see people are just using you? Don't you see? I said, I see how people are, working me all the time. I see it right away. I had a great boot camp training when I was little. So yeah, I see it, but I want to help people. But yeah, because I see I'm fine, I'm good. When we were married, after we were married, he had a nice income. Yes, I had the luxury of staying home with my children. And Kendra, this is one of the things that I'm fighting. And you really better develop your own ideological debate on how you're going to counter this, in an intelligent debate, rather than shut up, stupid, you're nothing. That's what's going on all over Washington. That's why up on Capitol Hill nobody's getting anywhere. They're following, believe me, somebody even said to me they hadn't talked to you in years, because they said, oh my Lord, last time I talked to her, she was such a narcissist. Well, yeah, you tell me about it. You always complain. I haven't been in contact with you all these years. Excuse me. Somebody just insults you and denigrates you and criticizes you and talks about how wonderful they are. I don't have much conversation to make there, except to get into a fight, which always seems to be your mantra. And this is what the bullies do. Believe me, Kendra, go into my report. It's a 150-page report, Kendra. And I can assure you, when I do finally get a voice and these people start reading all of this stuff, it's not going to be, oh God, this lady is a crazy wacko like you guys want to propagate in your little fantasy world. Mom always did that. Anyway, it's not going to work. So, explain to me where this didn't have from the beginning, and where I didn't do all of my research and I haven't done all of my homework, after the guy in Tampa said, no, you got to prove. I was like, okay, great. Yet another lawyer who doesn't have a brain out there. Because that was easy to prove. And if I had gotten those web designers into court, I'm sure what they would have said was that, oh no, it was her husband who paid us to do this. And then I would have had, confirmation that that's what happened. And then, of course, it's just more evidence of the abuse of Xavier. But, of course, this is what all of the feminists want to cover up. Because, see, Kendra, what nobody likes, and I know this, I know what's going on in your head, because I've been working with the domestic violence people for past 10 years. When you saw what happened in the Women's March and all the infighting and the backstabbing. Same dynamics about, Mom, you, Daron, and oh God, Daron really played her hand with the memorial service and the re-recording. whatever. You know, she really, she should read the book about Daniel Amen and take some heed of those words. You know, with all of the backstabbing women that I was on the board with, you know, this was particularly in Bogota. And, you know, with Xavier's position, I was amongst the ruling elite of the Anglophone, the Francophone, and the Hispanophone, Kendra. And, you know, they believe me, I did not kiss ass and social climb at all to become the president of Bogota. To the contrary. And Duran should know all of this. Kendra, I had been first, don't you remember in England how the Americans were hated? Well, the French, even more so. I mean, and see, if I had been a fat, gum-chomping, hick woman, like, you know, all of these little bitches over in the Institute for Capacity Development are so jealous that I'm not. This is, you know, being a trophy wife and a debutante and all that crap. It really, really, really incites jealousy amongst the little bitches out there. But I don't see. This is again. No, I'm not like Mom. Yes, I learned that the trappings are important. But what a real lady is what you are inside. That's one of the points that I make with Xavier's grandmother, his maternal grandmother. She was the saving grace, I think, for him. She was, I think, the only positive person in that entourage. But she had a tough life. Can you imagine having a child by a communist? In post-Franco, he's had to flee the country. Now, you have to understand, you know, they, like, persecuted the wives and the children of these, you know, guys who had fled. And she, you know, even at the end, barely literate, you know, even after, I don't know how many years in Morocco, she only spoke Spanish. She understood more French than she would let on. Because when we'd be speaking French in the family, they'd be, oh, no, she understands more than she'll let on. But you know, a woman who had a tough life, her daughter always complaining, you know, how, you know, her mom had been, you know, tough on her. I was like, excuse me. This is post-Spanish Civil War, and I can imagine what that woman was up against. She didn't abandon you, because I saw a report one time on it was a woman who had written a book from an orphanage run by nuns. One time they would wake up, and I don't know if this happened on several occasions or just once, but there was a cadaver of one of the girls on the table, and the other girls were told, see what happens if you don't obey? So, you know, as I always say in my anthropological research and work, which actually began when I was 16, believe me, I mean, I appreciated Foxcroft and GW, well, not less GW, but Cobham and Foxcroft, because they taught me how to think and to express myself and to stand up for myself with my words and my ideas, and not someplace just to go and make friends so that I could grapple up the social ladder in the States or Europe. I know how to conduct myself, and that's why one of the reasons why I was pushed into being president of Bogota. Okay, so I didn't want to do it, and they had approached me. I forget which year. It was several years before I left, because I had gotten on the board. I got on the board of the Americans Women's Club as secretary the first year I was there, because we had just arrived and Xavier never wanted to have anything to do with Anglophone communities. So I wanted to try and, make some friends, but even, Xavier, see, this was part of the isolation. And, quite frankly, the board, I was like, oh gosh, this is like a sorority. I don't want any of this. So then with the French one, I kind of overlapped, I think, actually. And it was Maguelone Orleans who was stepping down because of some infighting and things I kind of later found out on the board, to do the manual arts stuff for the kids. And you can see I'm doing something now. And I said, yes, of course, I'd love to do that. But she didn't mention when before I said yes, that I would be a board member. Then she mentioned that afterwards. And I was like, okay, so you can't back out. So that's how I got on the board. And then I had been approached when one of the president was leaving the country, and by several people, and several times, and I was like, you guys, nobody at the embassy particularly, and the little corporate people and stuff, is going to want an Amerloc as president of the French Expat Society in Bogota, especially one who dresses and presents herself better than any of them. But see, it wasn't that why the people who had come to me and asked me to present myself. It was because I cared about everybody. As one woman came up to me when right before a couple of months before the elections, she said, oh, I was told to ask you about whoever that everybody and where everything is in Bogota. And I know more Bogota than Duran after 30 years, and I know more of the ruling elite and the people in Bogota than Duran does after 30 years. I mean, we were put in that ruling elite with Xavier's position, but I knew how to step up to the plate. I mean, Kendra, all of this entertaining that you do, and I did that. Everybody always says, oh my God, you should open a restaurant because you run one from your home. But not only did I run a restaurant, I also went to the social functions with him. I was, on the boards of these expat wives clubs. I was writing. I had my jewelry stuff. I learned to do jewelry. I mean, somebody here said, oh my God, you should be, start a company designing jewelry. I'm like, well, yeah, but that takes a lot of capital. And one of the ideas that I have for global expats gets into all of my jewelry work and my research into gemology and global warming and the issues with the blood diamonds, which is the blood emeralds, and the mafia that brings in, and the problems. It's not just the drug production in Colombia. You also have all of that. Now, the stones, all of these stones you can get in laboratories. In fact, a lot of what you find out on the market is really laboratory stones. They're just not telling you that. And there's this, stigma. No, I want the real thing. I want natural. And I explain to people, wait a second, it is the real thing, because chemically it's exactly the same as the stone that's been produced in the earth. You just don't go through all of the damage of the earth, and then the labor rights problems and all of that slavery that comes along with it, the mafia and all of those problems. And you promote it as, ecologically, clean, whatever, jewelry. And you tell people what it is. You need to do a marketing campaign and a promotional campaign to change a little bit the mentality, but particularly in the environment now, even when I did the research, when I came up with the idea back in the 90s, because I was into gemology and the jewelry making, it was a good idea, but it's getting better and better. And that's just one of the money-making portions of global expats. Another is all the artisan work in Colombia that I saw. I mean, I didn't think just to do it in Colombia, but the artisans, I even had many that I knew who said, can you help us find markets in Europe and the United States? And I explained to them, because I did a whole research. I went down and I went to all of the different agencies. What paperwork do I need to do? What do I need to do to start a company? I'd asked with Duran about Peter, because he does import. This would be export. Oh, no, I don't get into export, because then you get into the problem of them putting drugs in and stuff like that, so I don't want to deal with that hassle. Although I knew a woman, her husband exported flowers. Now flowers, Colombia is the second biggest producer and exporter of flowers. They come after Holland. So this is a big business. I mean, and it's a good business. It's a clean business. And although we need a little bit more food for people and less flowers. So, it was like, sure, yeah, this is a good idea, because I know also from my research and talking to all of these artisans that they are being exploited, by their Cámara de Comercio and the government agencies that are supposed to be helping them find markets abroad. Instead, they're being exploited by them. And then also there's the problem of, in the West, people, using their designs and them not getting any kind of royalty or anything. So those are two issues. I mean, this is exactly, gets into the SDGs. See, this is what I, keep on explaining. I even explained to David Stockman, who was the architect of the Trickle Down. Trickle Down increased your income inequality because the ruling 10% and who are holding the money strings, the purse strings, are narcissistic and only interested in jet setting around and schmoozing and cruising and luxury items and keeping up with the Joneses. So the international community is just as narcissistic. I've seen that. I've been amongst them, since I left the United States, hoping to get rid of this. So I know for a fact this is why I came up with the idea for global expats. So you already have, the website. I mean, you can see the model from day one hasn't changed. This idiot web designer in Tampa, I documented all of that. I knew, boy, was I documenting all of the crap he was pulled with me. And I got it saved. God, I see people coming from a mile away. Zabby was always getting us into problems and then coming to me and clean it up. I'm a pro in all of this. Not because I create the chaos, it's because everybody around me, nobody thinks of the consequences of what they do. See, no, Kendra, I'm not crazy like Mom. And that's one of the things, for example, to go up to Chicago now and work in a restaurant and stay at Jonathan's high-rise apartment. Kendra, when the violence starts, that high-rise apartment, that neighborhood, and like some of those neighborhoods, what is it, the north, near the lake and all of that, I was going to start with a bloodbath. Because, as I'm showing, you know, Trump is right. The foreigners are trying to take over the country. And that's what I show. You know, it's the PhDs, the MBAs that I'm challenging in Washington, D.C. That, you know, I'm more qualified for jobs in their think tanks than they are, because they are not accomplishing the mission of their think tank. They're just producing a bunch of propaganda. So I got my own think tank going on to counteract that. Nobody's given me any money, and I've had to put it together all by myself. So yeah, okay, one person, the tortoise, you know, plugging along. Yeah, they're there, but believe me, they got all of their their reports. Repeat so many of the same things. I have been reading all of this. But, you know, see, I know with my mind, that's why I know I gotta, you know, eat right, exercise, you know, that I can't just be focused on reading. I mean, hell, when I had my kids, when they were babies, no, I didn't read anything except Dr. Spock's baby book and Adele Davis. I mean, you know, a Wall Street Journal article here and there that Zebu would bring me from the office. It would usually be a week old or even a couple weeks old, but you know, you get what you can when you're abroad in those days. So, you know, everything in its time. This is one of the things all of you alpha dominance feminists are going to have to demonstrate, is this having it all. Now I want to see, you're screwing up the workplace, you're screwing up government, you're screwing up social orders, you're screwing up your kids. I mean, kind of the only reason I ever had girlfriends was because I went to a girls' boarding school, or I was a stay-at-home mom. I'm sorry, most women are cackling hens. We used to go out to lunch on Sundays in Brussels with a group of families, and I liked to go because there was two twins of 6 years old who absolutely adored my babies and played with them, you know, nearby. They had a big room with a big table, and we'd go up there, and they could, you know, we would take the, you know, toys and stuff, and I actually was able to sit down and have a meal with both my hands. I mean, one time at a wedding, I had to add Alex in my arms, sleeping, and I had to ask the man next to me if he could please cut my meat so I could eat. W never, no money's going to be spent on babysitters or anything like that. I raised my kids 100% by myself. I mean, his parents, I think we went, how many, I don't know, 3 or 4 trips our entire marriage. One was the Forex in Helsinki, and we went to St. Petersburg, and I mean, that was, I loved going on that trip. But, you know, and even I was like, no, you know, he fights enough with me as is. I want my kids with me. So let's see what else is in the global expats. So you have the website that'll make lots of money. That was my money making. portion. Then there's the jewelry, the artisan. Oh, and then also, clothing line. I mean, I used to, I was looking at exporting textiles from Colombia. I was looking at exporting all sorts of things from Colombia. I mean, I'm not, most of these parasitic corporate wives, they just want to go hang out at the country club. I mean, Durand told me that the American women were all pissed off. They couldn't leave the country. How dare they be locked up in the country? And they wanted to go home so they could spend their money. I mean, Kendra, the corporate globalism is being done so in a predatory manner, and because you do have a bunch of idiots in the corporate world, managing the corporate world. I mean, Susan Feeney, she said, oh, you have to, charge stuff for membership. I was like, and you're this big wig marketing person? You'll never make money like that. I mean, now she's struggling to survive and trying for I don't know how many years to, sell. She's got, these online furniture and luxury products in competition with, that's what everybody's doing. And that, all of that money is just another more of all this crap. She says, oh yeah, it's really difficult. I mean, if she had looked at the project, but no, once again, nobody knows how to look at a business plan. Nobody knows how to look at evidence. Doesn't matter if they're a lawyer, a marketing expert, a politician, a PhD over in a think tank, the guys over in the IMF, World Bank. They're all too busy going to meetings and writing reports and trying to promote themselves to see what's right under their nose. And that's why the extremism is escalating. I mean, that's all anybody wants to sell. And then, look at Global Thrive. Arianna Huffington is now doing that. I mean, Arianna Huffington Post is another one of those, cosmopolitan platforms. I was blogging on them 2014. I started, I don't know, I think they got too much in there because they opened the platform up, and I think they ended up with too many articles. And so then they kind of shut everybody down. But all of these journalists out there producing all of this stuff, Kendra, it is all propaganda. I was on the committee, oh Lord, when we had the committee for the memorial service, when I heard there was a committee and you said you wanted to be on the committee, I said, please go ahead and go off on your little committees. Thank you very much. Whenever I hear about that, I'm kind of like, oh, okay, I think I'm going to have to do this project on my own. And why nobody's getting anywhere in Washington. Well, I was on the committee. I was in the head of the committee. Maybe if I had been and people did what I told them, then we would have gotten somewhere to try and get the media to expose all the problems in family courts. See, all this narcissism of, I don't want to look at any of the problems. I don't want to look at any of the evidence. Oh, you're just stupid. You're just stupid. And I'm, wonderful. And all of the resources should be coming to me whenever I, raise my hand or pick up the phone. I mean, Trump even said all I have to do is pick up the phone and I got money. Why? Because it's a closed group of narcissists who have been consolidating their power base in their rise to power in the past 30 years. I mean, Kendra, I was here at ground zero when it started. I didn't leave Washington because I couldn't hack it. I left Washington because it all disgusted me. the whole cocaine snorting and fornicating. I mean, the American women, I mean, the crassness that you all talk about sex, the ruling elite women. I mean, even I think one of the most shocking was Sean Penn's wife. What's her name? Robin White Penn, I think. After there was some interview after the divorce. I just was like, my Lord, lady. And you know, denigrating men and objectifying men in the same way that men have been objectifying and are objectifying women. And I think I think there gotta be a few good of them out there. Otherwise, we would be already in a World War III. Need to stand up. But you know, Kenny, it just, I know you don't understand enough about anything. Don't have the intellectual, I mean, this was, you know, Mom, intellectual curiosity, it is important. It's important to be curious about the world, about the things around you, about the people, rather than just yourself and making money. And I mean, you know, how many examples do I need to hand out there to show people this doesn't end well? This is self-destructive for everybody. In this country, we've got rising mental disorders, drug addiction. I mean, this country's going to shit. And I don't know, you know, I don't know if you guys thought that, like, I'm sure you're just like everybody else. Oh, she has these illusions of grandeur. Because I know, first, it's your jealousy. That, you know, deep down, subconsciously at least, you know that I'm right. Because you know me all my life. All your life. And this family knows that their propaganda about me being stupid or crazy or whatever. I mean, Kendra, come on, please. You know, Mom, at the end, she'd burned so many bridges. You know, that's why when she came up here to persecute me and lock me up, just like Trump, for supporting Hillary Clinton in 2016, you know, I was like, yeah, okay, political persecution from my batty mom, I'm not afraid of. You're not going to get me into this psychiatric ward. And to this day, someday I hope to find out what the whole narrative was there with Caroline and why my Vote Hillary campaign was the Antichrist. What would Jesus think? Kendra, this is the mentality of the women out there who are controlling the narrative and controlling the conversation. Oh my Lord, everybody wants to be a part of the conversation. But I can promise you there are some men. You know, if you see the Michael Cohen hearing, and I love when one of the, I think it was the Senate, went through the Senate, I can't remember, one of the congressional members is sitting there going, do you promise not to publish a book? Do you promise not to make money off of this? Do you promise not to give speeches or something like that? And Michael Cohen's going, no. Because, of course, this is part of the game, and the cesspool is you get involved with this stuff. Okay, you go in and to your country club prison. This is the same thing they do with the bankers, and they've been doing. When I saw Mike Milken is still in the game, that was in 2016. I said, you have got to be kidding me. Now, he was brilliant. See, Kenny, this is one of the things about human resource management and, socialite women and the whole debutante stuff and finding the husband for the young wives, these young socialite wives, which, I think Queen Elizabeth stopped in 58 or something, the Queen's being presented to the Queen because this was antiquated. And yes, it is antiquated. However, the reason for that institution is still there, and it's left a void. And that's why it is important, the education and a ruling elite that, this is what I learned with Cobham and Foxcroft. Yeah, there is justification for having these private schools and that are of certain privilege, if you will, compared to the public secondary schools. However, only if those schools, those students are not just either there because they were born into the right family of the robber barons, which, Foxcroft is full, or, industrial families who have nouveau riche people. It should be, students. This is the same with the Ivy League universities. And they just become a cesspool of greed and corruption and corporatism and managerialism and affirmative action and alpha dominance feminism, which they're all looking, just like Trump's university. It's fraud because they're just creating cacophony and they're churning out idiots. I mean, Lucy, I remember when she would come through Paris, this was back in the late 90s. I was like, whoa. Because, first, it was like, how many years, forever to do your PhD? It took like 12 years. I've done 12 dissertations or more in 12 years. Maybe that's why I've never heard from her. Just like, all of the other PhDs I'm dealing with in all of the other universities. I mean, Lucy's just, and her husband are just another drop in the bucket of all of the people who are going to be looking at serious problems in all of these universities. I mean, my list of names is really only the domestic violence people. There's this Indian woman, Shetty something, over at Berkeley. She's with a psychologist. I mean, if International Hague Convention, Domestic Violence Project, bunch of bullshit. Just like the DV Leap over at GW, just like their their human rights department, just like their women's and gender studies, and just like their entrepreneurial one, just like World Women Business and Law over at the World Bank and UN Women. Stop calling me stupid. This is the typical of the feminist. Insult, 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 instead of addressing the issues. So stop calling me stupid. Go into any of these things that I just talked about and read the reports or the letters that I've written to authorities and we can discuss the validity of what I'm talking about. I think the problem is you don't understand, so you that's why you resort to insulting. See, this is the damage that the feminists are doing to social orders. Whatever. I mean, I think that's. Let's see. Was there anything else? I mean, of course, I would do my own with the global expats. As I said, wanted to do, jewelry line, clothing line, promote the different designers from the emerging markets and they call them low income and high middle income, because see, all of this, the ones in Paris and London and New York get all of the resources and all of the fanfare, and that's what everybody wants to buy. And oh God, that's another thing. I mean, since I've been back, I don't know if you remember Neiman Marcus. Mom always loved Neiman Marcus, and I have to admit, Neiman Marcus was always very expensive. However, you had impeccable quality. Impeccable. I mean, you buy a dress there. I had one dress I got from there, of course, on sale, that I had until I, lost everything in Bogota. In Madrid. I mean, it was red. I had to be thin, so I couldn't always get into it. But it was like from day one. So all this crap that they're producing. I mean, come on! I'm like, the proof that markets are being flooded with clothes and manufacturing goods and all of it, and nice clothes, is that when I need an uplift and get depressed because everybody around me is just screaming at me and denigrating me, just like my family. I mean, Kenra, I shout. This is another problem that you're creating, all of you, narcissists and psychopaths and crazy bitches, with, you don't know how to read The Narcissist Epidemic, Twang and Campbell. You and it goes back to early childhood, but development, you don't know how to deal with stressful situations and difficult situations. So just like a child, I mean, my Lord, one of these guys here in the psychiatric evaluations, I'm sure it'll show a mentality of a 3-year-old, and that's exactly what we're dealing with. All they know how to do is scream and yell. I explained to somebody, I said, there's a difference between when when you're getting pissed off and people are giving you shit, or there's chaos and it's an emergency and you start shouting orders. There, shut up. No, that's not gonna happen. And you know what? You're gonna be up shit's creek if you don't get your shit together. Now, that is shouting at somebody. And that's not even threatening them. Because threatening is, I'm going to kick your ass, or, because even I'll see you in court is not a threat. Unless, they haven't done anything. But this is the appropriate response to someone who's not doing their job or violating your rights, is you get your shit together, you do what you're supposed to do. I'm the citizen. You are the civil servant. You work for me. I don't slave out there to produce tax money to pay your salary so you can sit on your ass here giving me attitude. This is what the people want. And believe me, I went through it in Spain, and I've been through it here in Washington. And yeah, see, this is the idea. Keep me on minimum wage, jobs, and struggling to survive, so I can't concentrate my efforts and resources in combating all of this. I mean, I know that's the end game. Believe me, I know for the beginning. I mean, you start looking into anthropology, sociology, psychology, even psychiatry, Kendra. See, all of you alpha dominant feminists who want to defend the having it all, ideologies and the hate crimes that it's producing. These aren't victimless crimes, Kenny, with your oppressive and denigrating ideologies. This is producing a lot of victims. So, you better get to work. Well, the party, grapple up the ladder of success, and get into positions of power. Well, I mean, yeah, Kendra, you're a little mosquito out there. I know, believe me. As I told Ron, I said, look, I know all of these Machiavellian manipulation games and all the Machiavellian games, and I don't have time to do that with the social climbing little bitches out there who this is why women were kept, restricted money and property and positions of power, because they just get in and create chaos with their little, games and manipulations. This is what the women need to grow up. This is where affirmative action, and I'm attacking affirmative action, even going back using grandfather and the case of 1910 in Alabama. I don't know why Mary Ann's, she's all into these women's clubs and history of the family and family tree. I don't know why she hasn't taken an interest in any of this. Unless she has guilt of conscience. And that's really what why the feminists and why the domestic violence people, I'm not sitting at the head of an NGO, because I will not propagate their propaganda that men are horrible people to be dominated and women are angels, and it's just getting them to them positions of power, and they are going to solve all of the problems of the world. Because believe me, the books are out there. Go into my bibliography, Kendra. Start reading all of this stuff. Yeah, you want to defend your position? Go ahead. I have no problem with it. But stop with the shut up, stupid. You're nothing but a stupid trophy wife. And of course, I'm on minimum wage and struggling to survive. I don't have time to read. I don't have time to go to conferences. I don't have time to do all of that. This is really, it's really showing, because I have produced the political platform that the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence told me was needed in 2010. I said, okay, see, this is again, I'm not a crazy bitch. Like, Mom, no. She said, this is what's needed. I'm like, okay. And this is why I'm always pushed in positions of power, Kendra, and leadership. Not in really power, leadership. Because people do have confidence in me. They know I don't go around stabbing people in the back. I'm not some crazy bitch. That's what I told somebody. I said, there's a difference between shouting and, yeah! what you all do. My Lord, when I saw those Zoom videos, I mean, really, I laughingly, but it's not funny, say, my God, I could do a Cinderella sitcom of the evil stepsisters and Cinderella running around, working. And them sitting there going, oh, I'm so tired. Do this, do that, do this, do that. It's like, my God, you guys are just as much out of control as everybody else in this town, everybody else in this country. And it's destroying the world. So, excuse me, Kendra, this is a political platform. Trickle down's not working because all of these narcissists that I know, many of them, and who have been, dropping the ball. See, you guys, you're lucky because you don't have any legal obligation to assist me. Moral obligation, but no legal obligation. Now, the State Department, the consulate, they have a legal obligation. Same thing with Jen Shaw. Does she have an legal obligation to assist or care about that the Center for Missing and Exploited Children is in the business of trafficking children? And Kenny, this is documented. You remember when the whole QAnon thing came out with the debates, and they were asking about this QAnon. Well, see and it was the Democratic Party was some sadistic pedophile ring. Probably what's happening is somebody gets a hold of cases that are happening. This is happening. That are, in a cover-up. And even a pedophile ring. I saw one documentary that horrified me. That was the National Football League. And, all the money that's going in there and all of the partying. And there was a group. I mean, okay, it's not the whole thing, and I'm sure most people don't even know that it's going on because it's covered up by the press, by the people around them that would know about it, and by the courts. But they are actually having women are producing babies who from birth are being raped and being told that they are being created, brought into this world to serve the sexual deviancy of these men. And believe me, it does. I mean, we see schizophrenia. That's usually what we're seeing is it's related to sexual abuse as a child. It can be other, but there's a high. At least with the sexual abuse cases, there's a lot of schizophrenia. A lot of it. And it's explained why. All of the reports are there. All of the evidence is there. It's just none of the ruling elite women want to look at it. Either the Americans or anyone in the international communities or anyone here in Washington. The press is all covering it up. I mean, we're seeing more and more that they're just propaganda platforms. In 2016, I tried to see if Sean Penn. I mean, I have several cases against the major networks, and we can break those up for being propaganda machines and nothing else. So believe me, like my. Vote Quenby 2020 U.S. President. I mean, in your little crazy world, do you guys really think that I think that I'm going to be promoted to stardom and raised to stardom and be voted in president? I mean, is that what you're because that's, I mean, I know, believe me, I've been working on this for my entire life, but studying all of the sciences behind it for the past 12 years. So I really have a good grasp of what's going on here. So don't just, you're crazy. It's not true. I forget, Biden, I think, was on there saying, that's not true. It reminded me of Duran. That's not true. That's all she knows how to say. So, get your research together before you want to attack me. But, yes, global expats, the whole project, there will be a $10 billion lawsuit when I can get to the end of the line. And the fact that I haven't been able to find lawyers to submit all of this, either through all of the personal contacts I have amongst the ruling elite around the world, who are too busy in their ivory towers, in their PhDs and universities, or too far up in their ivory towers of the greedy corporate world that's destroying labor rights, creating chaos, creating predatory and exploitative products, or amongst the legal community, the human rights community. I mean, Kendra, for example, on RICO, Racketeer Influence Corrupt Organization Act, explain to me where I'm wrong. I mean, ask Chris Decker. You said he's a criminal defense lawyer. And, with that I agree. You said that he had said that everybody has the right to a defense, and that I totally agree with. But not in order to silence and oppress the victims. I mean, victims have a right to be protected from their abusers, as well as the court system that, of course, the person accused has a right to present their evidence and their defense. But not manufactured evidence, not lies, not falsified documents. But that's considered normal. One of the first lawyers told me that. And we even have one of the jurisprudences that I pull out in my argumentation. And on my activism website, my letters to the State Department and Congress. It's Avena, Mexico versus USA. It was the International Court of Justice, I believe. And it was 57 Mexican rapist murderers who had been put on death row, but their Miranda rights their consular rights hadn't been respected when they had been arrested. So this consular right thing is the same as a Miranda right. You may have heard of that. You have the right to remain silent, and you have the right to legal counsel. Well, when you're in a foreign country, with another nationality, you also have the right to consular notification. Now, if you were stopped, and this is exactly what I did when Xavier and his cousin and the 4 cops stopped me. I mean, my family didn't care. His intention was to get me in prison, and believe me, we know this from all of the cases. This is happening all the time. There was a woman in a Spanish woman, Maria Jose Carrascosa. She knows me very well. Kenny, all of the domestic violence people know me, and they know all of these things that I'm saying is not bullshit. We got all of the evidence. And Maria Jose Carrascosa, she spent 8 years filing habeas corpus. They didn't even have jurisdiction. The courts are a frickin' mess. And the courts are a frickin' mess because traditionally they've been a frickin' mess, but also this war on drugs that the left and the right want to continue, and why everybody wants to shut me up. They want to continue because you're all cashing in too much. You ever heard of derivatives? You might want to look up that word. Well, that's, there's a derivative effect that can be demonstrated through the sociology. I mean, LinkedIn and all of the network, you got your first network, your second network, third network, and all of these profiles and how everybody is, their connections and everything is going to be extremely important in cleaning all of this up. So, I don't have any illusions that I'm going to be launched to stardom and become president. In fact, I even say last thing I want is to be president, and that's why I'm the best qualified for the position. No, it is the same thing. I don't know why you people can't get this into your thick heads. Oh! You gotta produce cause. Yeah, in that case, I'm staking a claim. So that win is the same thing that I did in 2016 when I called for a dissolution of the American government when Trump was voted into office, because I knew this would happen. Okay? One of the stupid idiot women, she does court watch, has an NGO, of course. She sends me a message on Facebook or LinkedIn, wherever, saying, well, I can't support your calling for an overthrow of the American government. God. Idiot. Calling for a dissolution of a government is not calling for a violent overthrow of a government in any way, shape, or form. And the fact that some woman who's doing court watches would say that to me and think that just highlights the problem. In Europe, they dissolve governments all the time, all too often. They never deal with their problems. They just dissolve it and get another and another and another and another and another. Yes, socialism is not working, but not at all for the reasons. This is another thing. You really better start studying up your political science to debate me on these issues, because socialism is not what you think, and things are not working in Europe for the same reasons that they are in the United States. And believe me, oh God, this whole debate about the healthcare, and we're getting into socialized medicine, and the government is going to control that. Even in Europe, Kendra, the system, you have the public healthcare system, but there is a supplemental private healthcare system, and it does work much better. And you do need to have a public healthcare system, but you need to produce healthy societies, and not hypochondriacs, and not all of these mental disorders, and not everybody doping themselves up on all sorts of pharmaceuticals. I mean, my Lord, since I've been back here, they talk about all sorts of this pill, that pill. I'm like, hey, you're calling the black people in jails drug addicts? Or drug dealers? So, I know what needs to be done to clean up this town, clean up this country. So, as I say, stop with, this is exactly. I mean, I should thank you. It's like I have my own personal coach on the narcissism epidemic and alpha dominance feminism and all of what the backstabbing bitches, who are so, oh, I just like, Mom, oh, I just think it's just wonderful what you're doing. Are saying behind my back, because you got never any problem to say it to my face. So, I think that, explains my global expats and how, because I've been working on my SDGs, this is how it brought it in, and this gives me a great example to explain, the trickle down didn't work and is creating income inequality because all of the narcissists are in control of the purse strings and in control of the courts and really want to cover up what's going on, all of the corruption in the courts, because of course they're doing things that are illegal, and therefore they don't want courts that would be bringing them to account. And so why it's in their interest to keep a corrupt court system, which of course the war on drugs, creating the money, but then also all of the corruption. You see it, check out any of the, Kenny, I've been alone here in Washington. I don't, not like you or, this whole narcissistic thing. You got to be with a herd of people, and you need to your support group, your gang, so you can have power. No, I mean, Mom one time was at the end said something about me not having friends. I was like, what are you talking about? I was like, ugh, just another one of your little to try and denigrate me. Just like you with, you never excelled at Foxcroft. No, I did not excel in that whole party, let's go out and be friends and cheerleaders and cliques, and this way we can, bully the others and gain power. No, I've been a very independent. I mean, I got, little much after 12 years, but believe me, as I said, Kenra, I left Washington in the 80s not because I couldn't hack it. I mean, I think that's why you left Boston, and you're just like Xavier. You see, he created this whole thing that I had been in, and it's in the court documents. I mean, can't say, oh, you're just being paranoid, you're imagining something. No. That's always the believe me, the psychiatrists are, we got that, all the documents there as well. There's a Lundy Bancroft, you should look at his work. Jonathan should look at his work and maybe talk to him. I think that would be some good advice. But whole thing, it's gotta stop, Kenny. And I know, whatever. So I hope, sorry, I started thinking about Jonathan. I don't think you were, as we saw with Mom, till the very end, this narcissism, this dementia, the way that it transforms your brains, you can't face reality. So until the very end, you got to go into your, this reality that you've created for yourself. So Xavier, I've been a drug addict since I was 14 years old. I mean, Kendra, how many people around the world do I know who can say that's absolutely ludicrous? And all of the other stuff that he said in there. I mean, it was just so far from reality that it shouldn't even be believed. But it is. And it is because the narcissists and the psychopaths are in power of the rhetoric, of the courts, of the institutions, everything. So this is, the SDGs. This is my big beef. You can go in. This is where I'm working on right now. This is my big beef with the SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals. And those tons of money has been, jobs and jobs and jobs and jobs. We'll see how many billions, I hope it doesn't get into trillions, of dollars are being wasted on a propaganda campaign of the Sustainable Development Goals. When I have demonstrated time and time and time and time again, I refer you to, okay, there's my report, workplace bullying and the IMF and all the cover-up and all of that going on. It shows exactly the same narcissism dynamics as with the Foxcroft crowd and the other ruling elite that I know. And then I started doing these oral presentations, videos, because nobody reads, nobody knows how to read, really. This functional illiteracy, because everybody's too busy partying. This whole thing about keeping the restaurant industry up, that's another one of the, you jumped on board on that one. I said, why don't you do something, to try and promote people stay home, please, stay safe. Here's because Trump's saying all of this stuff about this is creating horrible domestic violence, and we're getting depression, and we're getting alcoholism, and in dysfunctional homes. I'm sure that's true. Of course it's true. But if you look at the rest, there are some positive things that have been happening in social orders with the COVID pandemic, and one of those is people are spending more time with their families, cooking. Of course, if I was a mother, if I had my kids here and my husband and they're older now, so I couldn't, have so much control of what they can do, but no one out to restaurants until a vaccine is found. I never went out to restaurants anyway. I would always get mad. I said, no, come over to my house. With that money, what I spend on the four of us to go, I can fix better food at my home. And everybody agreed. This whole thing that, you can come and be work in a restaurant as a hostess, minimum wage job. See, it just confirms and shows you once again another case of all of these, okay, none of you guys have PhDs. I think Jonathan actually did get an MBA or something, but for what? Either for nothing, and it was just a total waste of money, and those resources could have gone to somebody else who could use the knowledge that they got from a college education, rather than just, I got it on my resume and this is going to make me, a trophy wife or something like that. Because you got to be educated. You got to have the diploma. Okay, Cornelia, I think she's the only one I know that's a high school dropout. That nobody seems to. This is the paradoxical thing. I see the high school dropout and doesn't know anything less than the PhDs out there for the same reason. I mean, really, you all should read The Narcissism Epidemic, Emotional Intelligence. When I read that first, that was in Madrid, would have been like 2005, 2004, I forget. I was just like, oh my God, this is out of you. Really. The narcissism and psychopathic, because, you know, it does develop into psychopathologies. And these, see, this is another thing. If you listen to all of the political rhetoric, that's just a conspiracy theory. Everybody just sweeps everything, any kind of stuff that they can't deal with, you know, which is everything. I mean, there's this thing, you gotta keep that narrative of just keep the boat moving forward. Like Lee Iacocca said, you know, what the hell are you people doing? Just keep it up, you people are crazy. You people need to grow a pair. He was right. Read that. That's another where have all the leaders gone? Oh, John McCain's Institute for Leadership. That's going to be one of my favorite. Is looking, you know, at lawsuits and fraud. Kenny, all of these think tanks and stuff that I'll be challenging. They're all, you know, fraudulent. Go in. You guys better start getting to work. And look at the missions, the people on there, and you look at their profiles, the wives, because this is something that I look at when I find all, you know, these different people. And with Wikipedia, it's great. You go into Wikipedia and, you know, all of these bigwigs and their wives, and it's very interesting. Because, see, what you all alpha dominance feminists want to promote is that wives, you know, don't matter and they're just stupid idiots. No, they have a lot of influence. In fact, one of the examples I use is that some guy wasn't going to go and work for Trump not because of the legal problems, but because his wife would have made his life a living hell. See, Duran knows how to do that. Alberto told me he left the house because, you know, I saw. Duran says that she didn't, you know, propagate what mom did and she didn't repeat what mom did. Yes, she did. And I guess that's what all the last 12 years and the ceremony really showed that you know, this way I was the mom who had her children taken away from her, which of course, if the courts took my children away from me, and you know, women always get everything and always get their children. This is the narrative out there. But the reality, Kendra, is in that 90% of cases where men ask for custody of the children, it's given to them. See, there's a whole propaganda narrative of what's going on to housewives and homemakers and trophy wives, because really those are the only ones with assets. Now, see, if we had had millions and millions and millions of dollars, it would have been a whole different ballgame. That's why you see, for example, you'll see the Arianna Huffington case. I don't understand that, because they were married for a few years and she walked away with all sorts of money. Now, even in common property marriage, you only are, you know, it's only the money that's made during the time that you're married that, you know, you should be getting the assets, a portion of that assets. And of course, the men are hiding the assets. I mean, believe me, it's all documented in all of these books. So the question becomes, and all of these people are in universities with six-figure salaries and cushy jobs. And when I call them, for example, Michelle Alexander, the author of The New Jim Crow, said, "Lady, you're biting an apple bigger than I'm willing to chew." See, Kenny, all of the evidence is out there, but nobody is putting it together except me, and nobody is trying to bring this to some sort of judicial process, court process, where all of the evidence can be examined and the guilty parties held to account. So, I mean, again, explain to me where I'm crazy in what I'm trying to do, or where this is antichrist, or, so somebody even told me recently that some philosopher had said the narcissism epidemic is the antichrist. And I said, well, that I could see that. I said, well, then all of the NGOs and PhDs are isn't there some false prophets in there? So anyway, that I hope will clarify for you and anyone else why global expats, yes, it was designed for the advertising space, as had the potential for $1 billion advertising. Again, TripAdvisor is producing that. Facebook is above that, I think. Although, Facebook. See, this is another thing, Kenny. Why, you guys are always fixated. This is it. You got to survive. You got to survive. You got to survive because you got to party. No, I'm always looking at the big picture as well as the short term and the long term. This is why I'm like, wait, go up to Chicago. I could be on the front line and raped and pillaged. And even if I say, wait a second, I'm with you guys. I'm on your side. I know from experience, you see me in the street, you think I'm a stupid white woman and Trump supporter. Well, I mean, one of the guys, one time I was talking to this homeless guy, black man, and the other was saying, don't listen to that woman, don't listen to that woman. And the black man who was talking to me said, no, she's not bugging me. She's not, insulting me. She understands what we go through. No, she understands it exactly. So see, but when the raping and pillaging starts, it's pretty hard to get them to stop while you're explaining that, because they're not listening to anything. So that is also kind of my concern. See, that's one of the things that I'm glad I'm in Mount Pleasant area and not over in Cleveland Park, because that'll get hit hard. This is what everybody wants, this is what everybody's gonna get. I mean, my Lord. You know what? This all reminds me of, do you remember in Wales at the sheep farm? And one time, all the sheep, I was coming, to the house where Mom and Dad were, and I saw, there were sheep wherever, are always getting out, and the gate was open. One of the first things that we learned was you gotta, leave open gates open and leave shut gates shut. And they're gonna escape, and you guys are all standing there, and I'm like, shut the gates, shut the gates, shut the gates. And you sound like a bunch of bozos. And I guess I probably got pissed. I don't know. I don't remember that. But Mom got pissed at me because I was screaming. Because, of course, since you guys didn't move, see, when I shout and I say, do it, we're going to have sheep that we're going to have to chase all over the frickin' place. Just do it. And ask questions later. And she punished me because I was like, move! I was like, are you people a bunch of idiots or what? The sheep are coming through and I'm saying, shut the gate! I mean, Kenny, everyone's saying if I see people going off a cliff, I'm gonna say something. Now, you guys don't wanna, no, we're good. I mean, I keep explaining to the Alpha Dominance Feminists, and all of the HR people, I'm like, you keep on, your excuse is the ship has sailed and I was left at the docks and, too bad for me. And my response is, but guess what, you guys? The ship that you got on is a Titanic. And it's going to go down. And I'm here on the docks with all the booty. I mean, I know you don't want to face it. Because if the ship goes down, then, all of your security blankets are gone. But this is, I keep on even with Mom, Shutting me up is not going to change anything. So this is, this is when Facebook is going to collapse. I mean, that guy, he's going to end up in some serious problems. I don't know if you've followed them all of these years. I certainly have. I've been following all of this stuff, Kenny. I mean, one of the things that pissed me off was when Lucy was saying to Jonathan, oh, Jonathan, I'm like you. I'm stuck 24, I'm stuck all the time at my chair, like working. Jonathan doesn't have a computer at his house. He works 9 to 5. And he's always, playing golf or off with his friends, out to restaurants or whatever. He punches the clock, cashes in. I'm the one. I mean, that's like going a real insult or she's a real idiot. Well, I think it was more of an insult, little jab, because I think maybe she didn't appreciate when my comment when she came through here would have been 2010. I haven't really seen her or spoken much to her. I've sent her stuff over the years that she should be looking at, but of course she's too busy like everybody else, up in her ivory tower. But I said, oh yeah, I love Bill Maher. He had said one time, he said what he likes about coming to Washington is it makes everybody in Hollywood look sincere. So, I think that's also, that's really part of the problem because Lucy's been, I first come across or found Lucy, if you will, in the 80s when she was working up on Capitol Hill, DeConcini's office, and I was at Senator Bennett Johnston's office. In fact, that's how I, saw her. She was in the halls at the Capitol, and I heard she was from DeConcini's office. But she was, I didn't have time for that. I was working to pay for school. And, she was all into academia, the intellects. Well, the intellects, believe me, all of these intellects are creating a lot of problems with their propaganda, their narcissism. I mean, even in Paris, Lucy would be like, yeah. It's like, well, with people that you can't engage a dialogue, you don't know. You don't know what's going on in if they're understanding what you're saying, not understanding what you're saying, or understand what you're saying and want to play the dumb blonde or dumb idiot to pretend that you don't. So I don't know. We'll see in the future. It's like, come on. All of us women out there know how to play the bimbo. When we get stopped by the cops, for example, and don't want to get a ticket, we pull out the bimbo card. I think sometimes too often, I think they're getting on to us. But, oh, officer, I just didn't see it. I mean, come on. Every woman in the world, I think, has used that. Or something, like that. Even I've used the bimbo card a couple times. So, but no, I'm not a bimbo. So, Kenny, it really, that this whole thing, anytime global expats comes up and the $10 billion lawsuit and all of that, and you're that's not going anywhere. Of course it's not going anywhere. The bullies, I mean, you and Jonathan even said you got your jobs, and thanks to mom and dad, the opportunities that they gave to you, that it put you in contact with the ruling elite, that you got where you are today. You haven't said that. So it's the networks. And the problem is all of the bullying networks, and the whether it be the male supremacists who want to, buy for their domination, or the feminists who want to buy for their domination, or the blacks, the African Americans are really, here in Washington, Jonathan told me kind of the same thing, I think, in Chicago. I even went to the manager and said, excuse me, but this whole thing, the blacks who won't serve the whites, the black bitches, I'm like, wait a second, is this a prerequisite to work at Safeway, being an obese black African racist bitch? That's producing anger, and that's why you're getting, so all of these people vying for their dominance and their access over resources is what's creating all of this fiction. And that is trickling down. The narcissism is trickling down. And that's why the income inequality is trickling up. So I hope that explains global expats, the SDGs, the trickle down, and why this is a multi-billion-dollar company, and I got a multi-billion-dollar lawsuit when I get to the end of the line. Again, you want to discuss this, that's fine. But read the information I have sent to you or is out there on any of these different issues, so we can have an intelligent conversation, if that's possible, instead of denigration, shut up, stupid, you don't know what you're talking about, you're just a stupid trophy wife, as I say, this is exactly what we're seeing up on Capitol Hill, and this ideology, because that's what it is that you all are promoting. It's the 1930s ideology, it's the Fourth Reich ideology, it's precisely the ideology that the Koch brothers and their friends had wanted to inject back into the American social order and backlash to the civil rights movement of the 60s and 70s, that, you know, you all, I mean, Jonathan, I guess he's a Republican, but he's you know, whether you're on the right or the left, and you're all just getting more and more extreme, and the only time, you know, that anybody, you don't like what somebody has to say, or contradicts what you want to be true, you just insult them, or try and ostracize them, or try and shut them up. I mean, this is what I have been fighting in Washington for the past 12 years, and why I have not gotten anywhere. This whole thing, oh, well, if you were right on target, if you were correct in your analysis, if you were correct in your argumentation, then everybody would be helping you. And you just, well, so you don't know what you're talking about. I know that's how you're rationalizing all of this, rather than looking at the evidence, because that's what everybody's doing. You know, this is with Dad. Nobody knows how to look at the evidence. This is the problem. Nobody knows how to connect the dots. Nobody knows the big picture. This is the problem. So, you know, that just angers you. So, as I say again, you want to discuss, anybody out there wants to discuss anything that I have to say, at any domain, I'm more than willing to sit down and discuss it to you and explain. I mean, one of the problems is Trump is often right in the stuff that he's saying. And this is how he got in. And we'll see if he stays in. I don't know. You know, either way, things are going to keep on going down, because nobody in this town will listen. Because they all have your narcissistic mentality of not looking at evidence, not being able to read, coming up with all sorts of crazy, you know, stuff like Mom. I mean, as I say, the whole memorial service catastrophe, that was some wacko thing that Mom would have done. That would have seemed, whoa, what's going on in this family? I mean, Kenny, they told me that when Mom had gotten sick with Epstein-Barr and contacted you, the social worker had said to Jonathan, is she okay? But, anyway, it's, you know, so I know, but, so with the service that I had to do re-recording, so we call everybody back, we ask them to come back and participate, and then we cut that, and we don't publish it, and we don't distribute it, and we just, oh, well, thanks for coming back for another chat. I mean, that's what Jonathan said. That I was like, whoa, you guys are, I mean, has Mom, like, gone into your heads, or what the hell's going on here? I mean, I imagine this is with Duran, and Duran didn't want that whole video because it made me look good, and so, you know, and it didn't make her the limelight, so whatever. But that would have been, I mean, I would have been like, whoa, family's freaking crazy. I mean, that was another thing. I wanted it for me, for my children, but I also was not going to be part of having me look like a crazy wacko bitch like my mother. 'Cause that's what it was. And, whatever I mean, I can just imagine Duran, as I say, Mom did the same thing. Duran's doing the same thing. You're doing the same thing with me of, get a job in a restaurant, a minimum wage job, because that's all you are capable of doing. You opted out of the game. Everybody else grappled up the ladder of success. I mean, Kenny, you're a cook. A hell of a lot more than that. I can cook. I can run a restaurant. I mean, I'll be running a couple of restaurants here. And believe me, I mean, I would love to run a restaurant. Well, not mine, but for me, yeah, I'm a workaholic. So, yeah, it's a lot of work. I've always said that. But one of the reasons, in fact, when we got to Madrid, Clemencia wanted us to open a restaurant together. It's a good idea. I still think it's a good idea what she had around there. Well, I mean, how she did it, I wouldn't do it. But her ideas, this is the same thing. Clemencia's like another, wacko his mom, but she's narcissistic. But I do thank them for, all their support when I was there, more than I got from my family. And, she's always got a lot of great ideas. But a lot of times I'm like, okay, wait a second, Clemencia. Let's look at the money. No. Add a couple zeros onto that one. And that's what, believe me, that almost all of the expats, Kenny, they're in debt. And this is, when they get their houses paid for, the kids' schools paid for, and they still can't save money. Because they spend. Keep up with the Joneses. She had a lot of, so, stop with this, I'm just as crazy as Mom, I'm just as much as a loser as Mom, I'm just as much, can never follow through of anything, because the evidence shows the contrary. And, you want to defend out there, you want to promote this, I'm stupid, I'm stupid. I mean, Kendra, this ideology that you're promoting, and all of you feminists are promoting, is having, this is creating serious human rights issues. This is what I get into recently. I think it was Dee Dee Alexander Matt who said something, that about my kids, if they had ever lived in the United States. And I said, well, what would that have to do with it? They're American citizens. That has no relevance. So a lot of this ideology, really, Kenny, and this is shown in all of the research and statistics and everything, and the books. You can go on to my bibliography and the ones about the family court and crisis, that it really has totally eroded the rights of women and children in this country and in the West. This is what they're helping all of the women in the East, because they want dominance and stuff, and so they're focusing and saying, see, us Western women are all liberated and we've got rights. And no, Kenny, even Erin Eddy, one of my favorite, in a video, she says, lady, go and take your rights, check out your rights. She said, that lemon ain't even getting off the curb. So it is totally this ideology that you and all the feminists want to, and all the male supremacists. I get it just as much from the male supremacists, from this Jim here. He's my favorite example. the black community, the brown community. I get it from every side because I do represent. This is another thing that's pissing me off. Is no, I'm not the stupid trophy wife, country club goer who was a parasite off of my husband all of my life. No, I actually made him who he was. But I know a lot of my contemporaries are. And I'm gonna be the sacrificial lamb for all the corporate wives and all the feminists? No, I don't think so. The real parasite on society, Kenny, here, is corporate wives hanging out at the country clubs. That I agree with. And the all of the feminists grappling up at the ladder of success. I'm just out to cash in and have a good time while I'm here. I mean, as Duran always said, thank God you never had children. I mean, she did enough damage with hers. Which, it makes sense, this way. She, the past 12 years, she's had, the grandchildren were hers. Mine have been totally, ousted from the picture. And, as I say, I mean, my God, I felt like my kids were dead during the memorial service. Another reason why it was important for me to have that, video in remembrance for them. I know you people think, well, I mean, basically I'm dead. I guess, you're just waiting, as Xavier said, you'll have to prostitute yourself in order to survive. I mean, see, Kenny, all of this rhetoric and all of these ideologies that everybody's producing that is propagating what Xavier said would happen, you'll see nobody cares about you, you'll have to prostitute yourself to survive and everything. Under international conventions, I'm attacking the feminists under slavery and human trafficking, prostitution, and all of that. So, you might want to get busy with all the feminists that you're in bed with, in propagating all of this misogynistic information and ideologies, because it's based on bullshit. So I hope that explains everything and why I'm not a crazy bitch when I say global expats got sitting on a $10 billion lawsuit, or there's method to my madness. Whatever you guys want to invent. I don't think that there's going to be a miracle on election day and I'm going to wake up the next day and be president. That's something that would, you guys or mom would think of. So anyway. All right. So have a nice day. Bye-bye.